Our next presenter is Carol Titcomb. She is going to be presenting on Making a Pathway, Reflections of Native Hawaiian Community Facilitators upon Experience of Participatory Research into Aipono, or Wholesome Nutrition. Please welcome Carol.
Aloha kako. I represent the voices of community members joined by the Path of the Sun, Waimanalo to the east of our island, Waianae to the west of our island, and we have a story to tell. I thank our hosts for this opportunity to share the experiences of community members who were called to participate in a research program by their community health centers. They were asked because our people suffer serious health disparities and Western individualized methods have not worked. They answered because of who asked, and also because we felt that our voices would be honored in this participatory process. We were asked to understand the community's understanding of Aipono, which translates to wholesome nutrition, but in the indigenous dimensions of spiritual, physical, relational, and environmental wellness. Our study methodology was developed by a community elder in Waianae and published in the Hawaiian Journal of Wellbeing. It involves forming a circle, sharing protocol to create a safe and sacred space, and sharing stories. While I may be uncomfortable sitting next to a stranger, if you share your story and it resonates with me, I feel comfortable sharing mine. We first realized we had to experience this ourselves before we could facilitate it for others, so we sat in a circle, shared our stories, broke bread together, and developed ties. Then we reached out to our family and friend networks, wondering if anyone would show up. And yet they did, in pairs, as we had requested, 2 members from the same family but representing different generations. They came because our values of joining hands and working together are still strong in our Hawaiian communities. One thing we learned is that pecha kucha is fast-paced. How do you think that would work in our indigenous communities? Not very well. It takes time to get to the guts. You have to peel back layer upon layer of everyday experiences before you can get to those truths. The shortest path between 2 points may be a straight line, but how scenic is that route? If you ask an elder a question, they're going to circle across time and space, go back to the beginning, and just about when you've given up hope of ever getting a straight answer, you'll arrive with a deeper understanding. And we learned that food is relational. It's how we mark our major life events. It's how we operationalize sharing and caring. It's part of our traditional greeting to one another. And the aromas and tastes of foods conjure up memories of those people who cooked for us and shared food with us at our tables. We learned that the lived and felt experiences around food and eating were different for different generations. This painting was created by the son of one of our facilitators and demonstrates our traditional food of poi, which is pounded from the root of the taro plant. But our elders grew up during the war and depression. They didn't have access to ancestral lands, and food was embargoed, so they became dependent on tinned meats that they stretched with rice and vegetables and supplemented with whatever they could catch or gather. My generation was influenced by statehood, immigration, tourism, the dominance of the big plantations, the emergence of the plate lunch and fast foods, and the dawning of political resistance and Hawaiian cultural revitalization. Our young adults grew up during the collapse of the big plantations and the emergence of small, diversified farms, so they have access to traditional foods. And they shared their aspirations of growing healthy foods for their families, using words that were quite new to us, like vegan. Perhaps the most powerful realization we came to was that we have the power to feed ourselves as we shared nutritious, delicious, and affordable meals from local vendors, as we drew maps of our community food systems. And finally, and one thing that we realized is that this awareness empowered our community members to make changes in their own families. And then the questions came: how can I cook more healthfully? How can we reclaim our lifestyles from the past? How can I share this information within my family and friend networks? Individual change is inspiring, but what is really needed are system-level changes. Our schools need to teach environmental science. Our churches can grow community gardens. Our health centers teaching traditional medicine. Our farmers need to grow indigenous plants instead of ornamental plants. Finally, we were asked, why did we agree to participate? And I want to share with you the words of an elder who said, because of who asked, because I wanted to give a gift to women who will be having children, and because I wanted to bring our two Hawaiian communities together to hold one another well. The participation was transformative, not just for our participants, but for the facilitators as well, who found that they created deeper commitment and connection to their own communities. And finally, I come to the close of my program as the sun rises over Waimanalo and sets over Waianae to the east. I want to thank you for listening with open hearts. And I want to share one final thing, which is we make the path by walking. So I hope to encourage you to take those steps in your community, to engage in research, and to tell your story, because we're very eager to hear it. Thank you.